Every day I wake up and I feel so alive. I think to myself.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Cheeky Cauldron podcast. I am Mai Cherie, your co-host, and I am joined by my cheeky sisters, Tamika and Ani. And last week we had a juicy conversation about polyamory with Miss Tolly Mosley, and polyamory is loving more than one person at once. Today, we are going to continue the counterculture lifestyles conversation with polygamy, which is any marriage among 3 or more people. We're very intrigued by this controversial topic, so we have 2 special guests in the studio to help us understand this religious and countercultural lifestyle in depth. But before we do that, we are going to talk a little bit about the restaurant of the week, which is the Clay Pit. So the Clay Pit was my pick of restaurants for Indian food, and the Clay Pit was named one of America's best Indian restaurants by Bon Appetit magazine.
Oh, I did not know that.
They're known for serving innovative Indian cuisine and traditional favorites like tikka masala and saag. I didn't know this, but their sister concept is Tarka Indian. Do you remember Tarka? Yeah.
I love Tarka.
I know. I love Tarka
more than I love Clay Pit.
So
I didn't know they were.
So I go to Tarka with the kids quite a bit.
Are they owned by the same people? Is that
yes, their sister. Their sister. So I've been to the Clay Pit quite a few times, but Tarka is one that we go to frequently, and the kids love it. It's so yummy.
Is this more like fast food?
Yes, it's more like the fast food version of it. And so Tarka is actually a national leader of Indian cuisine in Austin, Houston, and in San Antonio. Wow. So it's kind of like all over. Yeah.
Okay.
So Bryce, let's roll the reel and let's show the audience.
We did have fun.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the tiki marsala. I actually, with chicken. I really love it.
It was good.
Is there a picture of the soup?
Yes, it's coming up.
Oh, it is. Okay.
We also had curry goat, which was really good. Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
There it is.
Yes.
That was so good.
What kind of soup was
It's
that?
just lentil soup. Like it was
Oh, I love
done
lentil
really
soup, too.
well. Yeah.
Oh,
I love it.
Ooh, I can look cute in them glasses.
Thief.
What did y'all think about that? The chai, was it like a chai tea or like it had Indian spices?
It was a little too pungent for me, but that could just be a taste thing.
Yeah.
Like it definitely felt authentic.
I didn't like it because it wasn't really hot.
Mhm.
You know,
It
kind of
was-
came and it was tepid.
came out-
It was tepid. So maybe if
Okay.
it had been hot, I would have liked it
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Well, overall, what did y'all think about the restaurant? Like,
I mean, I love Indian food, and the Clay Pit is no different than any other Indian food. And it's that they're sisters, Tarka, because that's my favorite.
mm-hmm.
But like the garlic naan, I like the korma, the pistachio kind of thing.
Mhm.
We didn't have that night because I ordered the goat. So
Yeah, I have to be really honest. I enjoyed my soup more than I thought I would. It was really good. But in terms of Indian cuisine, I feel like I've eaten at Indian restaurants that have blown my mind.
Yes.
So I thought it was like a solid choice. Like if you're downtown
Yeah.
and you're hungry, great. But I
Mhm.
wouldn't say like
outstanding.
I think because we live in Austin, I feel like, and there are a lot of like officials, political people that go there. I think they've kind of watered it down to fit this whole Austin
so
vibe.
It's not as
Yeah, I wouldn't consider it. I mean, that's why it's called contemporary.
Some of the best Indian food I've ever had, I was in London. And mind blown.
Oh, I mean, yeah, of course,
Right?
in London.
But that's what I'm
probably
saying.
This
But
is not.
But you're comparing. But I think there are restaurants here that are comparable to New York and London.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I just don't
Yes.
think that's one.
No.
But are there
no.
any Indian? Because if there
Exactly.
are, y'all let us know.
Let us
Yeah,
know
let
so
us
we can go
know.
find
We
it.
can go.
We're still on the
Yes.
search for
Okay.
the best Indian food.
Because we
Very
need to know.
serious.
Yes. But thank you for having us at the clay pit. We did enjoy it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's time for us to get into our spicy topic of the day, and it is all about polygamy. So, polygamy is the general gender neutral term for any marriage among 3 or more people. And polygamy is a specific term used to describe a marriage that includes one husband with at least 2 wives.
Wait, what did you say? Polygyny.
Polygyny.
I never heard that.
Polygyny, yeah. So it's under the umbrella of polygamy, and it's a husband that has at least 2 wives.
Okay.
And then the next one is polyandry, which describes a marriage with one wife and at least 2 husbands. So polyandry.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I know. I'm like, I need to get one of them. 2 husbands?
2 husbands or more.
Or more. No,
Okay,
not more. Not more than 2.
You can't.
Then they're going to drive me crazy.
So here to shed more light for us on this topic are Muslim couple Mukhtar Muhammad and Hawa Jibreen. Hawa is from Chad, Africa, and she is an HR professional and business owner. And Mukhtar is a computer programmer. He grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, and spent his formal years of Islamic studies in Yemen, Indonesia, and Malaysia. They are both dedicated followers of the Islamic faith and grew up with the cultural belief that polygamy is a normal way of life. Assalamu alaikum, Mukhtar and Hawa. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Peace and blessings.
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Peace and blessings.
Thank you.
So, polygamy is one of the most controversial counterculture lifestyles in the West. In fact, critics say polygamy doesn't fit the image of modern society. But why? When I think about like why polygamy doesn't fit modern society, I look back in time on it being such a huge part of culture and tradition in African, Asian, and Middle Eastern countries for centuries. So I want to bring the conversation over to Mukhtar and Hawa. And you both grew up Muslim. And Hawa, you in Chad, Africa, and then Mukhtar, you in Baltimore, Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to kick off the first question to you, Mukhtar. What was it like growing up where polygamy is illegal in the country you live in, but practiced within the Islam religion where you were raised in?
Well, so I grew up, like you said, I grew up as a Muslim, alhamdulillah, but I didn't really see, like, it's not like everyone was practicing polygamy around me. You know, my father never took another wife. I don't think it's for every man. As far as like the illegal stuff in the US, I follow my religion first, so I follow what's illegal in Islam. That's not to say that I ignore everything else, but I believe in everything Islam has sent down. And I didn't honestly, like, growing up, I never saw myself with more than one wife. So I was monogamy. Honestly, when I looked at the Quran, I knew about polygamy in the Quran. I knew that men practice it. You hear about men here and there with one wife, two wives. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, but I looked at it as honestly like a strange thing, even though I was Muslim, even though it's in the Quran. So I was never like a person that wanted to get two wives, like before I got married.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? So you studied it around the world, not just in Baltimore, but where were most of your formative years? Did you live in these different countries, or
yeah?
Did you...
So I grew up in Baltimore, and
until when?
Until I was about 14, 15. I went to Yemen, and from there I didn't want to come back to the US. I kind of wanted to.
Oh, I see. But your family was in Baltimore.
Yeah, my family from
So
Baltimore.
for those formative years, you were in America, in a country
Yes.
that was not an Islamic country.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And
so I kind of
there wasn't tons of polygamy around.
Yes, actually, it was kind of it's good you brought that up, because it was kind of a shock, honestly, growing up as a Muslim in a non-Muslim country, and then seeing a Muslim country, because like the only Muslims I knew about were Muslims in the masjid and things like that. So actually, I when I went overseas to Yemen, you see many brothers who are, you know, 1, 2 wives, 3 wives, and way more common. But even then, even though I saw it in the culture there, I still wasn't like, I wasn't
Yeah.
this person who was like
You
an
had
advocate.
14 years of
Yeah,
seeing that.
Yeah. But honestly, you'd be surprised how fast you grow up being 15, because the men who are like 25 here, the men there are like 15. Like their mindset, their mindset are very mature. Like, I mean, you find 15-year-old boy working, like, I mean, speaking to him, you would think you're speaking to an older person here. So a lot of my growing and a lot of who I am actually came from traveling, alhamdulillah. So I'm blessed for my father and my mother to have given me that ability to travel in different countries. But seeing polygamy over there being the norm and somewhat like, you know, people, men speak up, men congratulate each other about it. You know, they kind of like, you know, they look at the other man and ask him, you know, how many wives you got? And he said, oh, you got 1 wife. And he's like, oh, that's it, you know. So and he's like, and he it's like a strange thing. It's like, how come you don't have 2 wives? It must be a problem. Like it must be an issue. That's how it is over there. Over here is a little different. The men who practice polygamy, you know, they kind of do it. They don't let the public know. It's not because you know it's illegal. So so yeah, coming back to the U.S., working and everything like that. Then I got married, and then it wasn't until a few years. You know, it's kind of like it was honestly like a test from Allah, because I was kind of like, I didn't see polygamy. I was like, how could a man be with more than 1 woman? You know, it seemed like too much. And honestly, I started to see the benefit of it, you know, a little more into my marriage. I started seeing the benefit of polygamy. So,
well, we're going to talk more about that.
Mhm.
But before that, I want to talk with you, Halwa. So, from my understanding, you grew up in a polygamous household in Chad, Africa. And so can you share your experience?
Yes, I grew up in polygamy. My father had 2 wives. I was from the second marriage, and it was good because growing up, I never saw something wrong with it. It's like because everybody around me was this, and then we mingle. I mean, with our brothers, our older brothers, you know, come. They were older than us, so they come and take us out and things like that. So it was like it was normal. Nothing was like because everybody around me was in polygyny. So I cannot turn around and say it's weird to me. And it was good. It's like nothing wrong. And the thing about it is women are very territorial. So men had to keep them very separate, to each her own business. And, you know, the kids, when they want to be together, they bring them together and things like that. But each woman had her own house, her own, you know.
So he had to provide 2 homes, but the women also work.
No.
Oh, well, you said their own business. That's why I said.
I mean, like in their own, you know, corner.
their own business.
Their own.
They were minding their own business.
Got it. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So I have a really quick question. I guess it's, you know, I understand how women can be territorial, but if that was how they were raised and that is what is expected of you, how are they being territorial? Because you know this is your life and what's going to happen.
Territorial in a way that, you know, because I talked about it with some people here. They think that in polygyny, men have to, you know, like share the same room, like having, you know, being with the same women at the same time and things like that. But that's not what it happens. It's like to each it's her own quarter, her own
Did they have it worked
household.
out like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're at house A, and
Yes,
Tuesday,
it's
Thursday?
like 2 nights. My father used to do 2 nights. Like most of the couples there, they do 2 nights here, 2 nights there.
Okay.
Yeah, because I wanted to say, because in Islam, we you know, polygamy, we have a rule book for how we do things, everything really in Islam, marriage and polygamy included. You have to, you know, we know a man can't be really equal with how he he might feel like he loved one more than the other. He's supposed to not try to show that as much as he can, but we're supposed to be equal time. That's the most important thing, spending equal time with each wife. So you're not supposed to spend more time with one than the other. and also spreading your in terms of money. You're not supposed to be trying to spend more on one than the other. So
But I'm sure that happens,
yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah. So, but I wanted to say, like what she said, like the separate quarters. The man has to provide for both quarters. And it's haram or illegal in Islam to have them in the same room and things like that. Doing those type of things.
So then, can a wife, if she suspects that the husband is doing more for the other wife, does she like do a rally cry and take him to court or something? Or
No, we don't believe in court. Most likely, we believe in family. Like you gather the family, like the elders, and you talk to them. You call the elders. Like when we have a marriage, it's like marriage. First of all, if we need to define it, it's like a very secret relationship. It's sacred. Sorry, sacred. Yes. So for us, it's not just between two people. It's two families. Uniting two families. When you unite two families, it's not something that you can just decide today, I can do this. And so when she suspects something or something is obvious, she can call the elders, her family, and then his family and talk to them about it, and they can rectify that.
Okay.
That's
I love
fantastic.
that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, leading in, segueing to that and the culture of how you grew up in Chad, how much of a culture shock has that been now that you live in America? Because family is so important, and to you, and I feel like in African culture. And so, how has that been a little bit of like a culture shock for you being in America now?
Oh, it's a big cultural shock because it's like I grew up in a environment that is very family oriented. Like nothing is done without consulting family and things like that, especially if you're married. And to come here and see that to each their own, especially like when you're married, you and your husband decide something without letting know any member of his other family is weird to me. You decide to move to another city and you don't even have to tell. I was like, this is
How funny.
That's
you just pack up and go to another city without even
didn't talk to us first?
Yeah. Your family can come to a city, like your sister or mother can come to a city where you're in and they don't visit you. This is like the Nigerians say, abomination. This is something that, because it became like, at first it was very hard to me until I found a little community where I am like living. We both live in Atlanta, and until I found a little community of some sisters, and then I try to because it was very hard for me, even though my sister is here, like we see each other every 1 or 2 months, but it was really a cultural shock.
And I feel like it's so different for us in America. I mean, even though I grew up in a Caribbean family, like where family is really important, I also feel like when the family is in your business as the husband and wife, there could be some conflict that happens. And so it's like, let us solve our own problems as adults. And then if we need to call on the elders, then we can do that. But I find it very interesting that like they're involved in everything, because that would like drive me crazy if my parents
Not
were
only
involved with
that,
everything.
from a mental health perspective, that's called enmeshment. And we actually encourage people not to do that, because that happens here. Your family's all in your business. You can't make a move without consulting the elders, and then suddenly you're no longer living your own life. You're doing what's being told to you.
And
But if
that's
you
what
have
happened.
a good family,
Then it's great.
then it's great.
If you have healthy
you have a
elders,
healthy
you
relationship.
have healthy elders that are giving you good advice.
Because they may give
Well-
you advice on working on things by yourself between you two.
Oh,
And that's what happened when I got my first divorce. His family was all up in our business. And I mean, like, sister, mom, it was not healthy at all.
Yeah.
In a way where, for example, my family, if I call them and then, for example, complain about my husband, they will never take my side first. They won't. Because they will think like, because I am their daughter, maybe I'm trying to, play the favorite part.
Oh,
Playing just to manipulate them into, giving me. So first of all, they're going to take his side until they get everything out. Then they will choose which one is true, because they believe that if they're always on my side, and I can just call them and cry and say whatever I want about it, and they can take my side, which is gonna ruin the relationship. So first of all, they're gonna say, "What did you do first?" And then later on, they wait.
That would make me mad. I'd be like, why do you think it's me?
Right. That's twofold. Again, you have to rely on the healthiness of your family.
Yeah.
Right? Because what if she's calling like, help me, I need, and it's like, well, what'd you do? Right? And maybe she needs help. Or if it's like, wait, I need to get the whole story first. That's actually really healthy.
Yeah.
Right?
Very
So
healthy.
that just depends on your family.
I just think also is that sometimes we forget about how much wisdom older people can give us in a relationship. Is like what you said about how his family was all up in your business during your divorce. But some people, before the divorce happens, in Islam, it's encouraged that if there's a serious problem between husband and wife, that you bring one party from her family, one party from his family, to come together and try to sort out the issue. This is to prevent from divorce. You know what I'm saying? These kind of things where some people like, there's members in my family I heard that, got a divorce and I never even knew about it. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even know. It's just, oh yeah, I'm not with her anymore. And that's it. So I think, yeah, like you said, it can be an extreme on both ends of being, of both families being, not involved enough or too much involved, but like you said, it's all about the family. But I do believe they have to be involved in some way. I think that's very important. And Hawa has made me see that too, because of the family structure she has in her family.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you had a healthy family. You
Yeah,
guys
and you
worked it
did.
out. I'm just
Yeah.
judging off the few moments I heard, right?
Yeah.
I'm
But
glad.
but the way your face looks when you talk about them, and if the kids all want to get together, they can. And you have these big brothers that are protective. Like you came from a healthy family. So yeah,
love
I
that.
wouldn't mind getting advice from your grandparents either.
Right?
There's other people I'm
Yeah.
like your ex-husband's
Yes.
family. No, thank you.
So, Halwa, you are Muslim. You're a Muslim woman. So I want to dig a little deeper into the Muslim culture. There's a lot of speculation about how Muslim women are treated within the faith. And there's a global concern that Muslim women are treated poorly and less worthy than men. Can you shed some light on this notion and help us understand what it's been like for you?
Well, to me, I never saw that because growing up, I always felt like the women in my family were the queens and the men were their servants. we lived our life like that. When we're living in the house, it's like the women live in the inside, the men in the outside. That when you enter the house, you face the men's, quarters, my brothers, their rooms and stuff like that. In the other side, our rooms are in the inside. So we get the protection that we all need. When we going out, it's like, I never knew how to pay the bills. I never knew where, to pay any bill or anything. I never went around it. These were their job. Going out, I had to always have my brother or my father driving us somewhere. We never were like going out alone or something like that. So when people talk about like how they are oppressed, I'm like, where? Because I am Muslim and things like culture is different, but Islam does not oppress women. Islam treats us way more better.
Can you just
Okay,
say that
yeah.
again?
Yeah.
Because that is a big misnomer, right?
Yeah.
The religion is different than the culture.
Exactly.
And just like Christianity, there are people who can take the Quran and make up all kinds of rules. The way people can take the Bible and make up all, the KKK is a Christian fearing group, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Right, using the Bible.
Exactly.
So I love that you just said that. I just wanted you to kind of lean in on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the culture, yes. In the culture, they believe that men are this, men are more worthy than a woman and things like that. But the religion dictates that women are supposed to be some kind of treasure, to treasure them. And, even when you come to marry a woman, you don't just ask her and that's it. You ask her parents, you beg them, you do this, you have to give dowry. That is like, compare from my culture, you have to pay like 10 pieces of gold and then a lump sum of money, shop each type of clothing from the inside to out, like 12 pieces, and then give her mother, her sisters, her things like that. So you see how the efforts you put to get just one woman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm,
to
I
just
like
Well,
that.
I actually
pull
I
out.
like that whining and dining.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
my brother's friend from childhood, I'm not gonna say his name, but they got him a wife from their country, and she came over, and he was talking to my brother like, yeah, she came over here like, okay, where's my car? Where are my clothes? Where's my handbag? And he's
you.
like, whoa, okay.
I just had a
Yeah.
I had just had a Coming to America flashback.
Yeah.
Right? Coming to America,
Exactly.
right? I just
So-
had a flashback.
Yeah, when we talk about that, and then you have your maids. When you get married, you have your maids, you have your driver, you have like everything. You just ask the husband, he has to provide it. And what we do is like, this is something that we take seriously. It's like, take care of your house and your kids. This is your full-time responsibility, like giving all the education that you have to your kids and things like that.
So I just have to say, so a lot of people don't know this about me, but I was raised in a Muslim home. So
Oh, wow.
my legal name is Wazira Anhar Mohammed.
Okay.
Okay.
You got the same last name. Muhammad is the most common name in the world.
Everywhere.
I know. So it's either Williams or Muhammad. I just had to be like,
Yeah.
last name.
Yes.
But in that, when my mother kind of moved away from the nation, we were in the Nation of Islam here in America. She told me, she says, I wear Islam inside. And she had to go to work. She divorced my father and had to kind of go back into the world, right? And all the things that you just said is what she told me.
Mhm.
All the things about how a man should treat you
Mhm.
and how you treat yourself and how you honor yourself,
Mhm.
how you take care of your home and your children, how cleanliness is next to godliness.
Mhm.
We prayed, we did
Exactly.
Ramadan,
Mhm.
everything. And I grew up with the understanding that the Islamic faith was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The way we
It
ate,
is.
the way
Yeah.
we loved one another, the community. What's happened globally has shed such a negative light on it.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy. I know we're here to talk about polygamy, but it reaches out so much further than that, right?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
yes, exactly. I wanted to say, because it's hard to hear everything about polygamy and things like that. And because I'm always relating things back to what the Quran says and what Allah says and what Islam says. Like what she said about the man providing and this and that. This is something we have to do if we believe, if we're Muslim, and we're Muslim men. Like as a Muslim man, we're supposed to provide food, shelter, clothing, in a comfortable environment for our wife or a man who would decide to take more than one wife.
I have
Yeah.
a question about that. Okay. So when they want to take on another wife, because this part I didn't know. I
Mhm.
didn't grow up
Mhm.
in a polygamous environment. How do you go about the courting process? Like, what does that look like? Because that's one of the big concerns that people have, is that these wives don't really get a choice. Like these second wives are kind of like, I like her, I'm going to go get her, which does happen in certain religious
Mhm.
environments, not Islam, but maybe culturally it happens
Mhm.
in
Yes.
Islamic
Mhm.
countries.
Mhm.
So like we said, there's a difference, and it happens in certain Mormon sects,
Mhm.
right? But not
Mhm.
all of them. There are Mormon sects where like, I had a dream that God told me you're my wife and now you come. And it's like some like
It's like,
16-year-old
oh my
girl
God.
who's like, what? So
Mm.
I'm curious what that looks like within the faith.
From where I come from, like I said, marriage is about joining two families. It's not like, so most of the time it's about alliances. It's like to get more power, to get more close to another family. You know, you like the other family background or things like that, and then you want to incorporate it and have kids from them. You know, like their women are well educated, their women are
Or like if
more
someone's really
beautiful.
talented,
Yes,
it's like, I want that.
It's like that,
Okay.
and you want to add that, not looking at it in a pervert way, but in a way that you want to grow. Like we believe that marriage is half of our faith. It's like half of the faith, and when you do that, is to have more kids in a way, like to have more practicing kids, to have more educated kids, to have more like something that you bring new to your kids and give them, because we believe in Islam that the rights of your child is choosing a good mother. That's one of the rights
first
of
right.
absolute, yes,
The first right
absolute
of the
right
child
for a
in
child is
Islam is
choose
choosing a good mother.
a good mother. Yeah.
So basically, whenever a man who is polygamous and wants to choose a first and second wife, they look at how that wife can add value.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's very important.
So, quick question: how is there a limit to how many wives a man
Yes.
can choose?
4.
4.
Yeah. And it's not a lot. See, it's not a lot of, but you look at it as though, but it's not something that's like all men are doing it. And it's not something easy.
Because you have to be
No,
able
you
to
have to-
afford it.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah,
be-
You're the
and
one working.
Not just affording. I think affording is the easiest. I mean, I'm not saying it's the easiest part, but honestly, like dealing with things mentally, financially.
that's
Dealing
what I
with
was
4
thinking.
women.
Yeah,
And
dealing with
all
4
of your
women.
children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 women and a lot of
That
4
man
different,
gon-
and also
he
4
gotta be a
different
Mac.
personalities.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So it's
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
sometimes you got to know to, if you're having issues at one house, to kind of leave them there and not bring them to the other house.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And be very careful in what you bring up in the other house about the other house, in one house about the other house.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you don't want to give one wife the ammunition to bring any type of harm to the other wife. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
a lot.
And
In
that
the
kind of thing.
nation, there's clearly this is a question I already know the answer to. It never goes the other way.
Mhm.
It's always the man with the multiple wives.
We're
Yeah.
gonna get on that. We're gonna talk about we're gonna
Well,
get to that.
Real quick,
Okay.
does, like, if you have 2 wives and you're going to bring on the third, do the wives get a say?
That's a good question.
It's Islamically though, it's not like we have to ask our wife's permission, but for the peace, many men actually, what they do is they will go to their second wife or first wife and be like, "Listen, I'm thinking about getting a second wife," and they will help in the process of choosing another wife, because I think that's for some men who do that, I think that's a very intelligent thing to do, because she knows a woman. You know what I'm saying? She knows a woman. If you're bringing a woman into the family, you don't want to destroy what you've built.
Yeah.
You know, so some men go
And
about
women know women.
yes,
Yeah,
women know women very well.
Women
Yeah.
know women.
And in my
Absolutely.
culture, if you don't show up on the ceremony day where your husband is getting married, and you don't be like the first person to handle things, that would be very degrading to you. Like you're a bad wife. That shows that you're a bad wife. Yes,
Yeah.
because if you are a good wife, then you will be the first person to go handle his ceremony until he
Even
does.
if you don't approve of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
You-
so no matter
Yes,
what.
you put your jealousy beside, because he's eventually gonna get married to her, and your kids are gonna be brothers. And if you start by, you started by making problems, how is that gonna be when she comes? That means you're gonna have like ill feelings toward the kids, and then the kids are gonna hand it over to their younger siblings.
Oh, I have so many questions.
Totally.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I want
has
to
the first wife ever been downgraded because she got a bad attitude?
Yeah, sometimes, but the elders, the elders check her.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why you have a community
Yes.
of elders,
Yeah.
family, and within
Yeah.
the Islamic religion as well, like that
Yes.
you can count on.
Yeah.
So I want to circle back around to what you mentioned about when you were younger, and how either your dad or your father drove you where you needed to go, didn't have to worry about the bills and any of that. So when we move into the modern society, what if you have an independent woman who does not want someone to, like, they want independence and not have all this control of like, where are you going, and all of that. So so basically the question is, there's this in modern society, women are much more independent. And so how does that fall into play in polygamy? And I kind of wanted to open up the conversation with Ani and TT as well. Y'all are big on the feminist movement. So how does that kind of like interweave in modern society, this feminist movement and polygamy?
What you said, what I said about it driving us with when we were young. When you get married and move to your husband's house, you get your driver, or you can drive your own. Many women do that. You can drive yourself, or you have your driver that can drive you anywhere, and nobody has the right to ask him where do you go or something.
So
like
again, it's cultural women, because this idea that Muslim women aren't allowed to drive is a cultural thing. It's not in the
that. I've been driving.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's a part of that that's in religion, is that men are it said in the Quran, "Al-rijalu qawwamun 'ala an-nisa," that men are the protectors and maintainers of women, meaning men have to protect women. So we have to know we're not out there just we're out there as like a man is also like a bodyguard.
Yeah.
That's how we have to
That's what
treat.
my
So,
mom would
yeah.
say.
Leading
Like,
the-
like
Mhm.
the brothers at the mosque would have to like walk her home,
Exactly.
or bring her
Exactly.
home if
Mhm.
she was there working.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and if you actually look at, and I'm not going to digress too much, but it's just that if you look at the crime rate, things that are done upon women in the West versus overseas, it's substantial. It's huge. The difference. You know, they don't play over there with things. You know,
Right.
and
There's
also
always a man with you.
yeah, and not only that, the laws are very strict.
I mean, it's
The
corporal
laws are
punishment.
very strict, and for men doing this to women and vice versa. But
Mhm.
men are around. You know, like when I went to Yemen, you don't see men.
How
out
do you
at
guys
night
feel
and things
though
like that.
about the countries where women are screaming out,
Yeah.
where they're
Yes.
Mhm.
like, you know, they're being forced to be castrated
Mhm.
and they are being brutalized
Yeah.
in the name of Islam
Yeah.
and in the name of Allah,
Yeah.
which really bothers me. But I'm wondering how you guys deal with that.
Yeah.
Like
I
the
feel-
little girl, Mulala, who she just wanted an education.
Exactly. That is where culture, we say.
Yeah.
There are some people, backward, what they do is to satisfy their ego. If you can see so many Islamic imams, what do you call them? Imams, like educators.
Like
Mhm.
priest
Yeah.
Mm.
version of
Yeah.
of
They talk about it. This is about some man who decides that I need to satisfy my ego. To not say that in our countries, yes, women are brutalized too. It's like their husband beat them, and their young girls that being raped and things like that. It happens, but that's not in the name of
Yeah.
Islam. That's like any individual who's like we believe is like a person who's like not right in his head and does any crime. Like any person who does any crime, that does not mean that he's Muslim, but that does not
Yeah.
mean he's a good Muslim. He's a bad person.
And
That's
that he
all we see.
represents Islam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that in the media now, if a person does something bad and they happen to be Muslim, they're going to highlight the part that he's Muslim and he did something bad,
Mm.
rather than him just being a bad person.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
like globally.
Which they don't do.
What they don't do with any other religion.
Or
You know what I'm saying? They don't. If someone goes to a school and they blow up the school or shoot up the school, it's not mentioned that he's a Christian.
No.
You know what I'm saying? But if a Muslim did that, it's mentioned first that he's a Muslim.
Well, they
You know what I'm
definitely do
saying?
it to Black people.
Yeah, they do
yeah.
it. Yeah, they definitely do it to Black people.
They
But
do
it's
it, yeah.
They
so-
still don't mention that they're Christians.
yeah, but in terms of religion, anything that a Muslim does, because they're bad. Like most, you got to understand too. There's 2 billion Muslims in the world,
Mhm.
so they're not all good. It's like
Yeah.
all of them
Yeah,
not
yeah.
going to be
Well,
good.
that's like
There's
everything.
good and bad
Exactly.
with any
You know.
religion. with
Exactly,
any, yeah.
exactly. But like she
absolutely.
said, they're not following. There's nothing clear in the Quran that tells them to do this. They're following culture and their own desires.
Mhm.
You guys might not know the answer to this, but was there something going on way back when all these holy books were being written that it was necessary to have multiple wives? I mean, is that why it was written in? Because I know a lot with like the food and like the Jewish holy book had to do with what was happening at the time. Like you had to keep your dairy and your meat separate and all this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Which I'm just wondering if there was something going on.
Yeah, during those times, and even now, you see war. Mostly men die in wars, not women.
Oh, because of the
Mhm.
wars,
Yes.
all the
Yeah.
wars.
Like you
Oh,
find
okay.
so many women that are widows and they have kids. They don't have anyone to look after them. Like their father died in a war, their husband died
So
in a
it
war,
was a
their
way
brothers.
to keep women safe. And
Yes, exactly. To protect, and not like some women, they just end up not having someone like to get married. Like even if they're not widows, it's like there are less men, and then it's done in a way that everybody can have a husband. Every woman can have a husband because of the fact that war was happening, declared on anyone and things like that. That's not to say that it just has to be like that. No, it can be in any situation where a man can decide to have on his personal reason, can decide to have like multiple.
Okay.
And also in pre-colonial economic activity, it was centered around farming, which you needed more manpower for. So if there were high levels of infants with mortality, then that could play a factor in how many children there were to be able to help, with the land. And so an alliance with having more than one wives and more than one childbearer was like super important
Mhm.
before, at that time. And also, there was like a statistic that I read that the more wives that a man has, the more military and political alliances they can forge, which is what you were
Yeah,
talking about. It's like
exactly.
that's where family comes into play as well. And if we go back into the British Empire, it was the exact same way.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It was like you form these alliances in order to have like this huge empire. And so I think it's
I
really
just wonder.
fascinating.
I asked this question. I currently am. I don't ascribe to any religion, but I do keep the beautiful things that I learned about Islam with me. But I just wonder how necessary it is today, right? Like, if someone wants to have more than one spouse, by all means. I just wonder, in terms of it being a law, if it's still necessary, right? Or
That's the question I was going to ask. Does polygamy make sense in a modern society?
Mhm.
It was even like a rhetorical question. And I have this video that I wanted to pull up, and I think it now is a good time to. There were a couple other questions I want to ask, but I think now is a good time
Yeah.
to pull it up. And I think it's interesting because it really sums up my theory of dating, relationships, and marriage, and like where we're heading in 2024 and beyond that. And this video was like 12 years ago, and
Mhm.
it's by a man named Khalid Yassin, who is Muslim. Okay, we'll put on
Movie
this up.
time.
Right, movie time.
Already in the Western world, there is 2.5 women to every man. Just add with me. If you take away the men who are homosexuals, now you come to what? 3.5, right? No, this is the truth. Then if you take the men who want to be playboys, they don't want to get married, now it's what? 4.5, isn't it? Then you take the men who are on drugs and alcohol, what do you get? 5.5. Because now we're talking about 2.5 women to every male, not men, male. So we're at 2.5, we're at 5.5 now. What about the men who's in the jail? They will not come out 10, 15 years. Now you got what? 6.5. What about the men who's at war? Maybe they will not come back. Where we at now? We're at 7.5. What about the men who is confused? They don't know whether they want to be a male or female. They don't know what they want to be. They're just floating around. Now you're at 8.5. What about the derelict men? They're bums, they're irresponsible, they're living and eating off their mother, they're 30 years old. What about them? Now you're at 9.5. So if all the women was able to marry a man for themselves, what will happen to all the other sisters? A man, we said. Who is a man? A man who is responsible. A man who can fulfill what she needs physically and mentally, psychologically, and economically. If all the women got a husband, what will all the other sisters do?
Wow.
Okay, so everyone in this room is married except for me. What do I do?
What are you
What
gonna
do
do,
I-
sister?
What do I do? So I wanted to kind of briefly talk about this because we don't have that much time, but I wanted to briefly talk about this video because the statistics, that is math. That was
Yeah.
12 years ago.
12
It's
years
even
ago.
worse now.
Yeah.
Like, so the census for 2024 says that 97 males to every 100 females. But when you take away all these things that he's talking about, those who are in jail, those who have gone the war, those who are confused about whether or not they want to be with a woman, those who are specifically homosexual, what do you have left for women or single women in a modern society? Where do we go from here?
that's a good argument for
Mhm.
polygamy.
Yeah,
I
that's
just-
a good argument. I mean,
it is. I mean, it kind of harkens back to like when we talked about sex positivity and keeping the state out of our bedrooms and
Mhm.
out of our lives, right? And let us do what's best. I think as long as everyone is consensual, everyone is a consenting adult, and everybody can work together to make it work.
Why
So
not?
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah, why not?
My issue is that when they've done statistics on people in polygamous marriages, the women happen to have more anxiety and more depression.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm wondering how much communication is happening, how much consent is actually happening. How many of these women thought, well, I grew up, in this faith, and this is how my mom did it and my sister, so now I have to do it, and I haven't even had an opportunity to figure out what I want, right? That's where I get concerned. But if someone like you decides to go into a polygamous relationship, well, you've had all the freedom in the world. So now it's kind of like, well, this is what I want.
Yes, exactly.
I've vetted
As
the
a
man,
mature
I've
adult,
vetted
yes.
the
And
other
I've been
wife.
married, and I've also been married before, and I also have children. So
Right. So you've
yeah.
had this robust life of independence. And I just think there needs to be a way to marry the two together. Like,
Yes, that's
marry a
balanced.
healthy cultural attitude with the tenets of your religion or with the tenets of polygamy. Like, as long as everyone can communicate, then I don't think these statistical numbers would be accurate. I think that there might be joy in having siblings.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a joke my sister used to say when she was just gave birth to her second child. She was like, I understand polygamy. Like, I am not interested in my husband right now. Like, she was just
Exactly.
like,
Yes.
I just want to be with my baby and
Mhm.
rest. And I don't want to do that. And I want to be like, go to wife number 2 or 3. Like,
Mhm.
Bother somebody else.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I would think that polygamy would be a good because I'm thinking, harking back to Africa, having a village.
Mhm.
But if you're saying in terms of, they keep the wives separate, because I would be like, if he had another wife or whatever, I'd be like, girl, today I'm going to do the dishes. You go on upstairs and clean upstairs or do whatever. I'm thinking
Some of them
we
do that.
work together.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
if
I
it's-
Sister wives.
I remember
Sister wives.
during COVID, we quarantined with a Muslim family, ironically. And she and I both were like, this is amazing. Because we were taking turns getting up, making breakfast for everybody.
Yes.
And the other one, we were both Leos. The other one would be in the bed like, oh, it sounds like someone's handling breakfast. Like, and it was, we were both like, we should just all live together in a community
Mhm.
because it was, but it was COVID. We were like
Mhm.
stuck together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And see, we say that sometimes joking, like me and different friends, we've said it before. It'd be like, girl, let's just buy a house and move
Be
in
sister
together.
wives.
Yeah.
Be sister wives. Yes.
Yeah. What I was trying to tell you is like to not culture someone. Some people can be jealous. So, and that thing, the community is there because when the 2 nights that the husband is with this one, everybody can go there and eat, not the woman. But like we live in a way where your cousins live with you. Like as a man, if you are a big like you have a responsibility in the country, you are like a big personality. You have your cousins, your nephews live with you. So the day that you're going there, like you can take the family with you and go eat there, and vice versa. So the family is always there. And when there is a like a ceremony, you have to all go. It's like no woman is spared. So the community is there. It's just to not make it seem like the one trying to mix them too much. You're gonna end up with drama. So the men decide to put that aside, just to to have
Yeah.
But see, I don't think I would have that jealousy. If everybody, all the cousins, everybody over there eating, I'm be like, I'm hungry too. I'm coming over and fix me a plate.
So do y'all think that polyandry would work, which is a woman having 2 or more husbands? I
Yes.
mean, because when you have, like you were saying, you're like, they just do whatever you ask as you massage your feet and all of this. I'm like, 2 husbands sounds great.
I just wouldn't want to have to be with both of them, but that's me personally.
Yeah.
Like, again, I
But
don't
not
care.
in Islam, though, right?
Yeah,
No.
it's
not
it's
gonna
not
work.
allowed.
Forbidden.
It's not allowed in Islam.
Because a woman, a woman can know the paternity of her child, but a man cannot. That's we say in Islam.
Yeah.
A woman can swear that's my child, but a man
Mhm.
cannot swear that's my child.
Yeah.
So
Get a blood
But
test.
exactly.
The test, yeah.
but in Chad, culturally,
Mhm.
because there's one woman and she has an Instagram. She is all out there because she's got 2 husbands. She moved to Africa. I don't know what country in Africa, but in your country, can that?
Chad?
And yeah, in
No.
Chad, can you do it?
No, because the men are super jealous and they will kill each other. That's what they
Oh,
always
Lord.
say.
Well, see, I don't know what country. Maybe it was Nigeria. I don't remember
What
which
languages
country.
do you speak?
Our official languages are French and Arabic.
I thought you spoke French.
Yeah, she speaks a few languages.
You love some French, don't
But I think also I like again I believe in polygamy, and I believe in polygyny, a man having more than one wife, and I believe in the wisdom behind it of what and this is like some people think that Islam came with polygyny. It's been around from the beginning. I mean, you have to also ask the question, where would we be if polygyny didn't exist in society? If it didn't happen, it'll be a lot less of us, especially from I know even us in this room, especially from African descent. If you go back, if you go back in history, and you look at where you came from, more than likely somewhere along the line, your great grandfather had more than one wife. But I think that women, even though in Islam it is forbidden, I think a woman having two males won't work because of the respect, right? Because men value respect more than love. Like men, respect is like what love is to you guys, right?
Yeah.
And I don't. A woman will never be any. This is my opinion. I don't believe a woman can respect both men at like in any way equal at all. I think one man will see that she is respecting one more than the other. You understand what I'm saying? I think a man can recognize that.
So it's like there's got to only be one alpha male.
Yes, exactly. And it's going to be, and the one you respect the most is the one you're going to give the most love to. Yeah. So even though you might sound like nice in the head, even desire wise or whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? Because, I'm saying that because in Islam we have our desires, but our desires are in line with what the beliefs say. So we don't go outside of, if we have desires, we have to also make sure they're in line with what the Quran says and what Allah says. So,
well, I feel like we're going to have a part 2 of this.
I want to respond to that, but we're like out of time.
You want to say one last thing, or you?
No, because it's going to start a whole thing.
We're gonna put a pin in it.
I just want to say thank you, though.
Yes. Thank y'all so much for coming, and this was such a great conversation. And let's talk more about this.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Thank you so much, especially from a woman's point of view, because I was totally clueless, and it's enlightened me a little bit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That.
Thank you for having us.
So, can you tell people, our audience, where to find you? I know you're a business owner, so do you want to give a shout out to your business?
Yeah, I have a Bakhur, which is incense and perfume business. It's traditional and handmade, Luxanter, and you can find it on Instagram, and the website is coming soon.
All right.
Nice.
And anything you want to?
I'm kind of disconnected from social media.
Okay.
And stuff. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank
So
y'all
you
for
can't
joining
find
us. Well, Cheeky Babies, it's time to end this thing. And this also ends our 4-week segment of Counterculture Lifestyles. And I know, it went fast. So over the next 4 weeks, we're going to be talking about organized religion in general, and spirituality. Yeah. So stay tuned. And
y'all better come back.
That sounds
I know.
I'm very interested in the next topic. Yeah, that sounds very interesting.
Oh, sorry.
Hit the like button. Hit the like button. Subscribe and share.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
Share. Please spread the love, y'all.
And we don't mind your comments either. We answer all the comments.
Criticize
Thank
them.
you.
Oh my God.
Don't do that.
Bye.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
It's